Okay, so I thought I'm going to find you a video about scales and then why do we have these marks at the front of right now we have one piece that we have two flats. Where are the two flats? At the beginning of our piece, and it's called the B flat major. But what are these? Yeah, why is it not just C major? Why do we have to know? Why do we have to use all these? So, and I choose the piano to show it to you because it's much faster and you're clever and it's much easier to understand. So basically on the harp we only have the white keys of a piano and we can only play in C major if there are no levers, or if you tune it to G major, because some people do, then they can only play in one key. They cannot change it. With our levers we have a limited option to change and create some of the black notes of the piano. But why do we have to do that? Because in modern Western music, we're not talking about Indian and Chinese and all the other music, because they even have not just semitones but quarter tones, yeah, in between the, so between these two they have another one. We don't talk about that. In modern Western music, and there's the diatonic, the whole. So there's a diatonic scale, and there's the chromatic scale where you are going up by half steps. Okay, so in modern Western music, we talk about octaves, yeah? Octave, it's coming from Latin. Primo, secondo, terzo, quarto, quinto, whatever. So all the Roman languages have adapted these numbers. These are originally coming from Latin, and it's basically counting, yeah? And octava is 8. So essentially, modern Western music is using octaves, which is a group of 8 notes. But at the end, the 8th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, essentially the 8th note is again the first note of the next octave. But yeah, we just talk about an octave. Okay, and what is there in an octave? There are 7 notes, yeah, because the 8th one is again the same as this one, just double the hertz. It's like 1 octave higher or lower, but it's essentially the same. So within this we have, as you see, a group of 3 where there are 2 black keys, and a group of 4 where there are 3 black keys, and these are just keep repeating. Yeah, and in between we have 2 steps from one white to another where there is no black key. So when I said that there's the chromatic scale, there's the diatonic, the whole tone scale, and there is the chromatic scale. Okay, chromatic is a half step scale. So essentially we can establish that this is a half step. And stemming from this, if we are adding 2 half steps, the 2 whites where there is a black in between, it's a whole step. Okay, so let's just examine the C major scale. Yeah, we only need this part. Okay, so the first octave from C to C, we established we are not using any black keys. We got the C major scale, wonderful, but it's built up of something, yeah? So we established that 2 white keys having a black key in between is a whole step. So every major scale in a Western music is built up the same. So C major, that's why I'm showing it to you, is 1 whole step, and then the next one is a whole step, because we always count. So in music there's no 0, okay? The first note is 1. And that's why the 7th note is 7. Yeah, there's no 0. So from 1 to 2, I mean, the location in the scale is the first note. So from first to second, there is a whole step because there's a black in between. there's another whole step, so we already have 2 whole steps. Here comes the one without black keys in between, so this is a half step. So we already got 2 whole steps and 1 half step. Moving forward, 1, 2, 3 whole steps. So altogether 5 whole, and the last one is going to be a half step. So every major scale is built up of 2 whole steps, 1 half, 3 whole steps, because we have the blacks in between, and the last one is a half step. So this, if we know, we can play any major scale. Okay, let's just jump to, I don't know why is it starting there. Yeah, we have to look at this part. G major, okay? That's the first one. So I'm going to send you a video because I found at some point, I'm going to find it. At some point somebody's describing it very, very well, what is the circle of fifths, okay? So it's basically, it looks like a clock, a vial of a clock, and to the right you have all the sharps that we can add. We have 7 of them, because you can modify each and every note in an octave, yeah? So we have to have 7 sharps and 7 flats, because essentially every key can be raised a half tone and can be lowered a half tone, okay? So that's why there are the 7 sharps on the right and then the 7 flats on the left. And it's called the circle of fifths because every time you want to get the, so C is the origo, okay? It doesn't have any whatever signs at the beginning. I'm going to come to it. Accidentals, okay? It's just white keys. The first one is G major. G is 5 notes away from C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's why we call it the circle of fifths. Guess what is going to be the next one? It's written here, D major. So the next sharp appears in this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, then we keep jumping up 5s, but we don't go that far. So let's see the first in the circle of fifths to the right. Yeah, compared to C, that's G. Let's just try to apply the pattern, okay? So we said the first 2 steps were in C major, 2 whole steps. Okay, we start from G. G to A, it's a whole step because there's a black in between. A to B, there's a whole step because there's B flat. And then came in C major, came the E, F, which is a half step. Oh, lucky. We have a half step here. We didn't have to do so far nothing, okay? This is G major's first 4 notes. Okay, so first 2 steps, whole step, the third one is a half one. Okay, we have this. And then we now, remember, need 1, 2, 3 whole steps, yeah? This is from C major. We need this. And we need this from starting from C. So let's find it. We have the first one, lucky. We have the second one, we are lucky. But we have a problem here. Houston, we have a problem. This is just a half step, yeah? There's no black key. So there has to be something done to obtain the, to match the pattern, which should be 2 whole step, 1 half step, and we need here 3 whole steps. And how we reach it, of course, we need 2 halves, yeah? To reach 1 whole. So 1 half, and the second half is stepping up to F sharp. So essentially we got our pattern because the last step needs to be a half step, yeah? You see here in C major. So in G major, from F sharp to G, it's a half step because we agreed that from a white to a black is a half step, from black to white is again a half step. So our first accidental, it's called, appeared, and we always start to mark them from top to bottom. Yeah, we're talking about the G clef, okay? And we don't start here, you see, we don't start in this octave, but we always start to mark them here. So the second sharp that's going to appear is C. because this symbol just right, so it's signaling the location of this C, yeah, and it means now it's signaling the location of this F, and if we put it here, it means that we have to raise to F sharp, but not only this one. So in G major, yeah, we have this. It's valid for the duration of your piece, for the duration of your scale. So every time you encounter an F, it always is F sharp, okay? So we applied the pattern 2 whole 1/2 and 3 whole steps, which here wouldn't have worked because it's a half. So we had to modify the second before last to get the pattern, because we need 3 whole steps and the last one must be half. Okay, and one more quickly. So in the circle of fifths, if you from the origo, from the middle C on your harp, you also have the middle C, you walk up in fifths, so you count 1, because I said there is no 0. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, your first accidental appears in G major, the second accidental will appear in D major, and the third sharp accidental is going to appear in A major. But you can also go down 5, and then you got the first flat, yeah? And funnily enough, that's going to be F major, yeah? So if you from the origo move to the left 5 notes on any instrument, yeah? But the piano is the most visual, I can show it to you. Then you got the first flat as an accidental. If you move a little further, and why is it B flat major? I'm just going to quickly describe it to you. So again, what do we need? Remember, we first need 2 whole steps. We have the 2 whole steps, and then we need the half step here. But here, from A to B, that would be a whole step, so it's no good. What do we need to do? We need to modify B. We have to lower it by half a tone. Because, not just essentially, but for effect, flats are lowering, yeah? Sharps are raising, flats are lowering the note, okay? And why do we have it on the exact space of a B note? Because this is what how we are indicating that. For the rest of our piece, or rest of our scale, rest of our whatever, every time we encounter B, it always has to be B flat. So we have the half step, and then we need a whole step, yeah? From here, a whole step is a C, and then V. So after 2 wholes and 1/2, we had the first whole, second whole, third whole step, and the last one has to be a half step, and we already done it. And we have the F major scale. Okay, so let just be enough for now. This is the origo, the middle C. Jump up every 5 notes. You got the accidentals of the sharps. Going down 5, you got the accidentals, how they come, and you always put major after it. So C major, G major, D major, A major, E major. And then coming down, C major, F major, B flat major. Why? Because we already had B flat, but I'm going to make another video of that. And then E flat major. But let's just start with the sharps, because it's you don't have to use the accidental in the name of the major, just the actual letter that note represents, okay? And then there's the pattern, 2 whole notes 1/2, 3 whole notes 1/2, and every time you want to start, you can start, we are just jumping in 5s, but let's say if I nominate E as my starting point, we need 2 whole notes, okay? Right away you had a problem here, because this is a half step. How do we overcome? And just as from a white to white is a whole step, from a black to black is a whole step. So if we start from E, that's a bit harder, okay? We need first the 2 whole steps. We got it? Good. And then we need the half step. These are the first few notes of E major. And then we need the 3 whole steps, because from black to black is a whole step, from white to white is a whole step, and from white to white, where there is no black, we have to jump up to the modified one. And the last note from D sharp to E is a half step. This is what we needed. Remember, the last note is always half a step, and the third step is always half a step. And we got E major scale, which has 4 accidentals in it. You see the 4 black keys that appear compared to my C major. Yeah, but this is going into a lot of speaking. Sorry, it's already 16 minutes. I hope you have a gist of it. Yeah, and then you remember that in Sea Breeze we have we have 2 flats. Yeah, and then it's called B flat, and because it's modified the E down to E flat. Yeah, these are the 2 flats that we have in that piece. So every time, but it's easy on a harp, yeah, more or less, because you flip the levers, and then every time you pluck a B, it's going to be B flat, or every time you pluck an E, it's going to be E flat. On the piano, you have to pay attention, yeah, because this is E and this is E flat. So now you know that it's in B flat major, and now you perhaps have a little understanding of why we had to flip the levers. So to have the accidentals, to have to be able to build up this scale called B flat major, because then again we need the first step is a whole step, and then a whole step, and then we need a half step. Yeah, remember, 2 flats here, B flat and E flat, they are indicated here. And now we need 3 whole steps, and the last one is a half step. So we got B flat major. Yeah, so this is the key of that piece. That's why we had to modify to be able to apply the pattern that we learned on C major, which is purely white keys. 2 whole steps, 1 half step, 3 whole steps, the last one is a half step. And then it repeats, okay? Because everything in a piano is that essentially you only have this much, yeah, of a piano. Because every time you look, is exactly the same. Of course, in notation it's not, because it's totally different. But essentially on the piano, this is repeating itself, yeah? And it's going up 4 octaves there and coming down 4 octaves here. And this is the piano, yeah? Of course, in notation, it's a lot more, because we have to indicate where on the piano. So this C sounds completely different to this. And we have to indicate this in the sheet music. But essentially, this is what we have. And also this is what we have on the harp as well. With the added ease that once you put your accidentals in, you're just going to play the music and it's going to sound nice. Everything sounds nice on the harp. Anyway, hope you understood a little more. And we are going to see each other tomorrow. Bye!